Alright, hi. 217.218 desk reference for EDEXPRESS for Windows Release 1.0. The U.S. Department of Education, U.S. United States of America Federal Student Aid Setup Application Processing Packaging. Table of Contents, Introduction to EDEXPRESS for Windows using EDEXPRESS for Windows 2017-218 Release 1.0. For the dev version, setting up the EDEXPRESS login for the first time prior year import query, global setup, application process setup, packaging setup, what is global setup, defining security school setup, global system setup, FAA access setup, file management, documentation training setup, AD initiated import setup of user database, create user defined user letter text. You created user defined award letter text. You can create user defined documented tracking letter text. What is an app express system and setup? Importing and printing ISIRs, importing data into the EDEXPRESS and printing the ISIRs, app express for FISA, Fizz apps reports, printing Fizz apps reports, and API Express, exporting external demographic and ISIR data, external demographic data export, external ISIR export, introduction to the packaging, and what is packaging? Packaging setup checklist. There's assigning priorities of packaging function, packaging system setup, establishing academic year profiles, entering fund maintenance information and remaining need information, define award methodologies, establish budgets, defining the SAAP values optional. Set up user-defined formulas, optionals, creating packaging records, packaging entry, manual entry, importing ISIRs, importing external records, the package, unpackage, repackaging process, the package, basic process, single student, multiple students, packaging, unbulk, and packaging, repackaging, printing reports and printing audit award letters, printing if it's app, report, incident, packaging, printing lists. Exporting package data, packaging export, query, rules of query, creating a query for the predefined query, bonifying a query, using a query, sample queries, field-to-field queries, example to field-to-field queries, deleting a query, bits and bytes, messages, classes sent by the CPS, and downloading the EDEXPRESS software, documentation, getting help system, CPS, student aid, internet gateway, technical support, technical reference, appendix fix, financial aid shopping sheet, overall financial aid shopping sheet profile setup, financial aid shopping sheet, record entry, financial aid shopping sheet, external import, financial aid shopping sheet, printing expert, financial aid shopping sheet, external adding and changing record layout, where to get more information. Our introduction to EDEXPRESS for the Windows using the EDEXPRESS for the Windows 2017-2018 Release 1. The App Express module can import the review and the print the installation student with the information records. Set you in the consensual processing system with the installation system. Student installation information records are generated when student file for your application for the federal student aid or FAFSA. The student correct with the student aid report that you comply with the FAFSA, or for the student for the using the financial FAAs or access to the consensual processing system online. You make correction of the student record using the FAA access of the central processing system online. When creating a central processing system, create the new institutional student information records based on changes to student eligibility pushed by the institutional student information records. The FAFSA student in inquiry tab, the App Express module are linked directly to the FAA access of the central processing system. Website, the FAFSA, federal FAFSA and institutional student information records correction data are submitted through the web interface directly to the central processing system. Installing the package module is optional. With the package module, you can track your award managed federal student and aid funds. The EDEXPRESS database is password protected to prevent unauthorized people from opening it in the Microsoft access. The viewing of the information protected by the Privacy Act of 1974 is amended. If you need help opening the database in Microsoft Access, see the topic of the database, password, and help. However, the federal student aid strongly discourages users from viewing and manipulating any of the EDE suite software database for using Microsoft Access. Making changes in the software database using any of the version of Microsoft Access can potentially cause the damage to the database structure, proper software, functional, and limited central processing center and the student aid, internet gateway, technical support ability to resolve the problem you may encounter as a result. For the compliance with Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, all the required fields highlighted in the yellow, displayed in the R, are at the end of the field label. The field that turns blue when the value is changed to display C at the end of the field label, which is changed to saved. For the compliance with Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, grid displays the floating text description of the contents of the grid cell. The texture appears in one cell above, the one cell below, for cells in the first line of the grid. With the selected cell, this text list row number, column type, and if applicable, the current value. Clicking once on the cell using the tab key of the arrow keys to move the cell, display the text, and clicking a second time to hide the text. First time you log in, the default user ID, the password is system administrator of the system, then prompts you to change the default password, entering the new password, verifying it, and floating text is also enabled with the system administrator user ID, allows you to appear to the startup of the information dialog text, to disable the floating text, select tool setup and security and user from the menu bar, create the new user ID, password, and exit the software, then log in, and again with a new user ID and the password. For all the users other than the system administrator, floating text is disabled. The default to enable it, and select the enable 508 grid of functionality. Check in the box for the security user dialog box. The purpose of the def reference provided with the basic instruction for the using global function for the app Express with the packaging modules, the EDEXPRESS for the additional information. See help within EDEXPRESS. Setting up EDEXPRESS, logging in for the first time. Logging in for the first time, when you start EDEXPRESS for the first time, the startup information dialog appears within the alert with the assumed the school is not defined. After you have defined your assumed school code for the global setup of this alert, now login appears under certain conditions. The other warning and alerts may appear. To log in EDEXPRESS for the first time to start, select Start Programs, EDE Suite, EDEXPRESS 2017 to 2018. Choose the EDEXPRESS for this Windows of 2017 and 2018. When you see the startup of the information dialog box, click Close. See the system, type System Administrator for the user ID. Until you create a user ID for yourself and the user IDs for the others in the office. The system administrator, the default user and ID. Type the system administrator for the password. Type the new password for the new password field. You must change the system administrator password the first time that you log into the software. The new password becomes password for the system administrator user ID. The passwords are 1 to 8 characters long and contain certain uppercase letters of the A, V, and numbers 0 through 9 plus or dash and backslash asterisk number and period and apostrophe. Type the new password again to verify the password field. Click OK and then present the enter into the EDEXPRESS. The prior year data of the dialog box appears, offering the opportunity to import your year from the prior year setup data. If you want to import global application processing packaging data from your EDEXPRESS 2016-2017 database, click Yes to import the prior year data prompt. If you do not want to import the prior year data or are not sure to click No. You can import the proper year data any time by selecting File, Import Global, choosing prior year user-defined query, set up with the file formats, import type, clicking OK, and selecting the data that you want to import. Serve prior year report the desk reference for more information. Prior year import. When you log into the EDEXPRESS 2017-2018, the first time you prompted to enter the prior year quality setup of the file formats form EDEXPRESS 2016-2017 database. If you do not import the prior year data when you've logged in the first time, you can import later the following the setup at the end of the section. When you import the prior year final formats, all the file formats fields are imported, even though these include the fields which label they have been changed as long as the fields exist from the current year software. The following database data can be imported by using the pre-year user-defined queries set up in the file and formats. Query global app express packaging and global setup. Security group access rights are not transferred when you import prior to the year. Security groups, they must reassign the access rights for the import the group of the security group the setup. See the defining security with the def reference with more information. Security user document tracing of the user defined letter test. System file management and import expert file parents from the new message class. The default with the C drive IAM data at or not updated within the import prior to the year of the file management setup. If you want to import the export the path of the new message class to be different with the see the default IAM data with you must change the path names in the file management setup. File formats. No IFI file format with the same code already existing added to the EDEXPRESS 2017-2018. The file format for the prior cycle is not imported. User database and FAA access is Financial aid shopping sheet profiles application processing setup system and not file formats if the file format with the same code already exists within EDEXPRESS 2017-2018 for the format of the prior cycle is not imported. The packaging setup, the academic year profile, funding of maintenance of one order methodologies, budget set, SAP values and systems, user-defined formats, file formats. Note if the file format with the same code already exists from the EDEXPRESS 2017-2018 file for the format for the prior cycle is not imported. To import the prior year of the data, select the file import with the menu bar with the close the global tab. Conform the prior year of the user-defined query. Set up the file formats appear as the import type. Select the printer file screen for the output destination. If you want to send the report to the file, click the file button to type the name of the file for the file, then click Save. OK. Click OK. The prior you move dialog box appears. Select the items that you do not want to import with clearing the checkbox for the import column. 6. Select one of the following import options. Import all the records. Set up operation options selected. Import all the records without prompting you to select the specific records. Import only the specific records on the setup option selected. Prompts you to select the specific records you want to import for each of the group of the records, such as security groups and award methodologies. Click OK if you choose the import all the records. The setup option selected within the progress dialog box appears. It should import only the specific record setup option selected. You must select the specific records you want to import for each of the group of the records before entering the progress dialog box appears. Click OK to close the progress dialog box. If selected printers as output destination, click to the printer. Import the prior year for the query setup in the file formats reports. Alright, what is Global? Global module, which is installed automatically, provides core function for the function applicable across the EDEXPRESS, available in all other modules. In addition to storing the student demographic records, establishing the default EDEXPRESS setting of the global module allows you to create security group with the security user and proper prior to years of a user define the query setup of the file management, prior year demographic data, prior year user data, user defined data, demographic data, initiated imports, created via demographic data, export external demographic data used in the spreadsheet with external system. Create notes of the individual student record, labels, notes, and lists of the queries, the user data, setup of the option record labels and record layouts and student summaries. Manage import and export directories. Create user defined fields, tag, track documents. Setup of the create and print, export financial aid shopping sheets for the use of the students. See appendix. In addition, with the global module provides with the two database utilities, compact and repair data, and verified database. Global setup, defining security. Creating security groups is optional if you do not need limited access to EDEXPRESS. You can create user ID, assigning them into the predefined express administration security with the group, which also has access to all the EDEXPRESS functions. If you need to restrict access some of the functions within the EDEXPRESS with a certain user, first step with the established group that have been limited to access EDEXPRESS. Second step is to create a user ID with assign them to the groups that you have created specifically with the functions for the user can access. You can grant the restrict the access to the FAA access to set up with the create the security groups. Click the global tab in the security group dialog box. Select the clear of the checkbox in the access column to the right of the FAA access function under the setup. To create a security group, select tools and setup with the menu bar with the choose the global security groups. Click add and type the name of the group of the user defined. Select the browser only tab. The checkbox if you want to group and they have the ready only access to the tab of the individual student records. Access the other functions and such imports, exporting in the multiple entry with the can be limited and clear access checkboxes. Optional in the password timeout field with the field the type of the number of the day's group of the member's password is valid. If you do not want the group member's password to expire, leave the value at 0. Click the tab of the module from which you define security. The security option changes depending on the tab you select. Select the checkbox in the access column and enable some of the functions to which the group will have access. And the function checkbox is selected with the functions enabled. For example, if you want to use the grouper and have access to the global setup options, click the global tab. Scroll down with the checkbox setup within the toolbox tool groups and select the checkbox and enable the access. Click save the add to the group of the database. Optional repeat step 2 and through 8 to add more groups. Click OK to return the EDEXPRESS main screen. To create a user, the select tool setup with the menu bar with the global setup security user. The click add below with the recount box as if you are the first record of the add for the after install EDEXPRESS. Skip the steps. Skip to step 3. Go to the step and go to step 3. Type the user ID field with the press tab. Click the down the arrow field. View the list of available security groups and select the group name. The security settings of the groups are applied with the user ID that you're creating. Optional, select the export and the AD content with the AD Connect checkbox. Export the records to ED Connect transmission queue automatically so that they can be sent with a common origination disbursement system for the processing. Original select automatically transmission check if they want with the EDEXPRESS to start with the ED Connect to automatically transmit your files when you are exported them. Press tab the advance for the password field, type the password for the user of the password field, and press tab, type the password again with the verify the password field. Optional C to enable the 508 grid functional checkbox with the display of the floating text, the description of the context of the grid cells. Click save the add the user for the database. Optional repeat steps 2 through 11 to add more user IDs. Click OK to return the EDEXPRESS main screen. Helpful hint: you can also change the passwords in the security user dialog box. See help for the instruction in changing the passwords. School setup. To define an assumed school, select the tool setup with the menu bar with the choose global and school. If you receive the message no assumed school, click OK. Then click the retrieve above the help button with the lower portion of the dialog box. Review the school list. Right click on any of the column headings. Review the menu of the sorting functions to help you with locate your school. You can also have the use of scroll balls to view the list. Click your school name and click the federal school code that now appears with the school code field is one of the one you want to assume the selected. Select the assume school checkbox to verify the information about your school is correct and make changes if necessary. Alright, if you will be processing applications, confirm the app processing participation checkbox is selected. Click OK to continue the check. Click yes if to save. Important note: if you are a direct loan school, have both an application processing school code and direct loan, could be sure to use the application processing school code to be assumed to school. Global system setup. In addition, with setting of the global system option for the user, you can define certain systems options for the individual user to set up the global system of values for the individual user ID. And immediately following to set up the global system options, to set up the global system options, select tools and set up for the menu bar to choose the global system setup, and select all notepad entries to be added with the checkbox if and wanted with the EDEXPRESS user to create and edit notes entries. If you clear the checkbox, usually have the read-only access to note entries. Click down the arrow to select the default global app express and packaging to display when they are printing, importing, exporting, deleting, or creating queries, creating the file formats, and setting up the security groups. Type of the number of the days that you want to elapse before the EDEXPRESS automatically reprints another document tracking letter for the document codes that have been marked with the received or when with their print letters again. Type the number of times you want to reprint the documentation tracing letters for each of the student. Type the number of the document tracing letters you want to print for each of the student each time that you will print these letters. 7. So return the dialog checkbox if you want to return the and import export dialog box after the printing of the reporting, importing data, exporting data. 8. Click the down arrow and select the single for the use of the print of the single record at a time. Select a multiple if you usually print with multiple records at a time. You change the setting of the print dialog box for the specific print time at any time. The default setting remains the same unit. The change for the global system setup. 9. Click the down arrow to select the print file screen for email as default with the report and the destination. You can change the setting of the print dialog box for the specific print job at any time, but your default setting remains the same until you change the global system setup. 10. Click down an arrow to select the email address at 1 if you want to correspond with that can be down printed with the elements such as the award letters, documentation tracking letters that be sent with the email address and the email address at 1 with the field, the demo tab, the C, and the email address 2 if you wanted the email the reports to be sent to the email address of the email address 2 with the field of the demo tab. You can change the setting of the printed docs, printing dialog box for the specific printing job at any time with the default setting of the remain the same until the change of the global system setup. 11. Click down the arrow to select the permanent if you want all the correspondence to be addressed for the student permanent house address. Select the local if you want all the correspondence to be addressed for the student local address. You can change the setting in the print dialog box for the specific print job at any time. The default setting remains the same only until you change the global system setup. 12. Click OK and 13. Click yes to save. This is to set up the global system values for individual user ID. Options that cannot be selected for the individual users are disabled. To select the tools and setup for the main menu bar with the choose global system. Click add the button lower portion of the dialog box. Check the ellipse button for the right of the user ID field with the upper portion of the dialog box. So select the user ID with the lister of the user and click OK. Click on the downward arrow itself the default global app express packaging to display with the users and printers, import, exports, deletes, creates queries, and creates files and formats. Select the return dialog checkbox if you want to return the imprint for the important print, import, and export dialog boxes after printing of the report, importing data, and exporting data. Click the down arrow, select the signal if user usually print single record at a time, or select multiple if the user prints the multiple records at a time. You can change the settings to the printable dialog box for the specific printing job at any time, but the default setting remains the same until the change in the global system setup. 7. Click down and select the printer file screen, the email with the default report destination. You can change the setting with the printing dialog box for the specific print job at any time, but the default setting remains the same until you change the global system setup. 8. Click the down arrow and select the email address 1 if the user wants all the correspondence to be can be created with the email, such as the award letters, documentation, tracking letter to be sent with the email address and the email address available in the demo tab. See the email address to address the user email the reported to be sent with the email address and the email address to field on the demo tab. You can change the setting of the printed dialog box to print job at any time, but the default setting of the remains the same until they change the global system. Click down arrow to select permanent if the user wants all the correspondence to address with the student permanent home address. Select the local if the user wants all the correspondence to be addressed with the student local address. You can change the setting of the printing dialog box for the specific print job at any time, but the default setting remains the same until the changing of the global system setup. Click OK and save. Yes to save. The FAA access setup. If you're the destination point administrator for the TG8 number used for the central processing system processing, or if the destination point administrator has enrolled in you as the AFAA access central processing system online, you can enter your EDEXPRESS FAA access authentication information TGI number of the federal school code and the application saved with restore password. And the FAA access setup the dialog, the information will be automatically filled with the FAA access automation information dialog when you use the FAA access interface with the menu bar with the FHASPA tab with the student inquiry tab. The EDEXPRESS uses the AD authentication process for logging in the FAA access of the CPS, the Central Processing Alert System online with the EDEXPRESS that must provide with the federal student user number, the password each time that you connect with the Financial Aid Association access the computer processing system online with the EDEXPRESS. If you do not already have the financial student user ID with the contact Central Processing Service of the state student aid Internet Gateway Technical Support 800-330-5947 by email with the CPS ASAIG ED Gov for the obtaining one. The same FAA access authentication information you entered the setup with login you into the return of the Title IV funds for the website with the access describe the view of the FAA access of the central processing system online with the menu of the bar with the return of the Title IV funds on the web. Note, although the access of the return of the Title IV funds of the website is part of the FAA access to the central processing services online enrollment, it's not automatically granted to the people who enrolled the FAA access to CPS online. Must be specifically requested that the destination point and administrator on the student aid the Internet Gateway enrollment website located with the FASVA web enrollment ID. Contact the destination point administrator with ensure usually whether or not to have been enrolled for the services. Select tools and set up for the management problem with the global FAA access. The type of the TG number for the use of the FAA access to central processing state system online with the TGA field TG number field. The type of the federal school code with the school field with on the clips of the click on the ellipse button to select your code for the list of the codes. Optional type of password saving and restoring application correction. The application saved with the restore password field. The application saved with the restore password. The password you use the access incomplete with the password you save with the FAA access of the central processing system. The password must have the 4 characters, but not more than 8. The valid values uppercase with A and Z, lowercase, and the number of zeros 1 through 9. 0 through 9. You don't enter the password and set up the message. Enter a password in the FAA access authentication information dialog to save the unfinished FASVA. Use the password later and restore the FASVA. You can continue working on it. You can restore the FASVA you have not saved and incomplete with the FASVA is saved for 45 days after you have last accessed it. Click OK and then click Yes. Important note, the FAA access setup is disabled from the system administrator user ID, so be sure to log in with the user ID with other than system administrator if you want to set up the FAA access for the specific user. Although you can use the FAA access for the central processing service online when logged in with system administration at EDEXPRESS, does not store the FAA access user information with the system administrator user ID. Alright, you can set up the FAA access only with the other user ID with the login, which will be logged in. Be sure to log in with your user ID before the setting of the FAA access. Alright, file management. File management is to the EDEXPRESS with the look of the files you want to import, whether they put your files in export. The example is the use of the ED Connect to send the receive of your files. The export import directories. The EDEXPRESS should match for the sending of the receiving directory of the ED Connect. EDEXPRESS automatically backs up your files rather than prompting you to back up them up into 1,000 files of the same message class that already exists in import and export directory. If the EDEXPRESS determines 1,000 files of the same message class already exists, software creates a backup the subdirectory called the backup in an existing the data of the directory that automatically moves them into the file that prevents previously imported exported files from being overwritten within the import export new file. The following setup of the export and the import in the file management dialog box. To set the path of import and export files tools at the same menu bar with the choose the global to check the file management. Click the default export directory, default import directory tab. The dialog box enables you to change the direction of the export and import files. Click the deficiency export directory, default all import or directory button to locate the selected directory for all the export and import files. Check the ellipse button to the right of the file path column to locate the selected different categories of individual messages classes. Click OK. Alright, document training setup. To satisfy the documentation requirements to meet schools and information needs, the application must provide with the documents financial and administrative to complete this application process. These documents can include tax returns, verification of school aid application. The EDEXPRESS can then track the request for the receipt with the request and required documents. You can also define as many track of the documents as may be required for the applicant. You can also mark the age of the document as automatic request use option if you wanted the EDEXPRESS to assign the documentation automatically during the added documents process. The EDEXPRESS assigns the documents according to the criteria you specified with the criteria to comments or attached. EDEXPRESS adds the document only to the students who meet the criteria that are required to the package. If you select the option, the document must be recorded as received before the student aid can be packaged. If the record is already packaged, you can add in the document the required packaging. Required verification. Your school required the documentation for the verification. Use the option when you want the document to assign with the student selected the verification during the add document process. The EDEXPRESS adds the document only when the verification status code of the field demographic record is not equal to N. If enable the checkbox using automatic request upon the unnecessary because the EDEXPRESS requests the document automatically from the student selected verification. To set up a document training tool, setting the setup of the menu bar, choose the global document tracking type of the code of the description for the document tracking record. Click OK. Important note: to add documents to the record of the database, select the process. Add documents from the menu bar to the EDEXPRESS automatically assign the document according to the criteria you establish for each of the document using when you set up the document training. All right. ED initiated import services.